Around BVA, prestigious Ranger Brigade inducts Danny Wallace. First Sergeant Danny Wallace, retired, past National Sergeant-at-Arms, and a recent catalyst for activities of the BVA Operation Peer Support Committee, has been accepted and inducted as a distinguished member of the Army Ranger Training Brigade, ARTB, for his exceptionally meritorious service as a ranger instructor in the brigade as he worked with his fellow blinded veterans the past 2 years. Danny is responsible for the training of 9 BVA members of all ages at Camp Frank D. Merrill Military Base in Dahlonega, Georgia. His official induction occurred on April 6th at Fort Benning. The induction of distinguished members of the Ranger Training Brigade began in October 2000 to fully recognize the contributions of the brigade's most renowned and influential members. Inductees are nominated by an active duty member of the brigade, but they must first have served in the Ranger Training Command, the Ranger Department, the Ranger Training Brigade, or have contributed significantly to the promotion of Ranger training in ways that stand out in the eyes of all Rangers, past and present. First Sergeant Wallace's leadership and expertise as a Ranger instructor was key in the development of Ranger leaders and will have lasting effects for years to come, the citation stated. His work with the Blinded Veterans Association has been critical in the support and recovery of wounded veterans from all services, and his dedication to Rangers and America's wounded warriors is in keeping with the finest traditions of military service and reflect great credit upon him, the Airborne and Ranger Training Brigade, the United States Maneuver Center of Excellence, and the United States Army." End quote. Ranger training at Fort Benning began in September 1950 during the Korean War with the formation and training of 17 airborne Ranger companies by the Ranger Training Command. In October 1951, the commandant of the U.S. Army Infantry School established the Ranger Training Department and extended Ranger training to all combat units in the Army. The first class for individual candidates graduated in March 1952. Stamina on display at Patan Memorial March. 2 photos provide a more complete glimpse into the experience of those participating in the Patan Memorial March. The photos have been placed side by side on the lower third of the page. The first photo is a group shot of 6 gentlemen and a lady at the far right. All of the men are dressed in long pants and T-shirts. The lady is wearing shorts, but she appears to have shin pads fastened on her legs. 2 of the men appear to be holding a pair of walking sticks, while a third man has only one. The other men are not holding any sticks at all. A tall mountain range is visible in the not-too-distant background, and the caption reads, "BVA team of Patan Memorial Marchers lines up prior to beginning of the 26.2-mile journey. Left to right, Steve Baskus, Kevin Baskus, Nate Gorham, Tim Hornick, Lonnie Bedwell, and Dan and Nancy Standage." Photo courtesy of Victor Henderson, Blind Endeavors. The second photo is more of an action shot of the group engaged in the march. They are depicted on a dirt trail that appears to be very dry. All are using 2 walking sticks. All of the veterans are visible, but the 2 group guides are blocked either by the camera shot itself or as a result of being behind a larger figure. The photo is further described as follows. Full cadre of Patan Memorial Marchers. Left to right, Steve Baskus, Lonnie Bedwell, Nancy Standage, Nate Gorham, Dan Standage, and Tim Hornick. At far left, seen only slightly inside the photo, is Kevin Baskus. Photo courtesy of Victor Henderson, Blind Endeavors. The text of the story begins. 5 blinded veteran athletes participated March 19th in the Patan Memorial Death March, a challenging 26.2-mile full marathon march through high desert terrain in honor of the heroic service members who defended the Philippine Islands during World War II as they sacrificed their freedom, health, and, in many cases, their lives. Steve Baskus, Lonnie Bedwell, Nate Gorham, Tim Hornick, and Dan Standage, all members of BVA, joined a record 7,200 marchers from across the United States and several foreign countries 75 years after the historic march occurred on April 9, 1942. The venue for the event, as it has been since 1992, was the White Sands Missile Range near La Cruces, New Mexico. The athletes were assisted by 3 sighted volunteer guides, Victor Henderson, Kevin Baskus, and Nancy Standage. "I was anxious to get the team together and take on the challenge," said Nate Gorham. The event fostered camaraderie among the participants and served as just one more example of what blinded veterans can accomplish." End quote. Participants and their guides met in Las Cruces, where they enjoyed the hospitality and encouragement of local resident blinded veterans, including BVA technology guru Terry Keble and his wife Mary Ellen, who have previously engaged in similar physical and mental challenges. The Kebles hosted the runners in their home. The graciousness of people like Terry and Mary Ellen, along with our trekking poles, decent footwear, and considerable determination, helped us conquer the impending obstacles while supporting veterans everywhere and raising awareness of BVA and its mission, said Nate. United States and Filipino soldiers numbering 75,000 were surrendered to Japanese forces on that fateful April 9th after months of battling extreme climate conditions. The U.S. soldiers represented multiple branches of the military: Army, Army Air Corps, Navy, and Marines. Among those seized were members of the 200th Coast Artillery of the New Mexico National Guard. The captive soldiers were marched for days, approximately 65 miles through the scorching jungles of the Philippines. Approximately 10,000 men, 9,000 Filipinos, and 1,000 Americans died in the march. Those who survived faced the hardships of prisoner-of-war camps and the brutality of their Japanese captors. The POWs would not see freedom until 1945, when U.S. Filipino forces recaptured the lost territory. The Army ROTC department at New Mexico State University began sponsoring the Patan Memorial Death March in 1989. The Memorial March was to mark a page in history that included many native sons and affected several families in the state. In 1992, White Sands Missile Range and the New Mexico National Guard joined in the sponsorship, and the event was moved to the missile range. While it remains primarily a military event, many civilians also participate in the challenging march. Participants may choose between two courses, a 14.2-mile route or the one of 26.2 miles. Marchers such as this year's group of blinded veterans participate in the Patan Memorial Death March for many reasons: personal challenge, the spirit of competition, or to foster esprit de corps. A team must include exactly 5 persons and only finishes the race if all members finish together, on the principle that one does not leave teammates behind. The race continues all day, with the slowest marchers requiring more than 12 hours to complete the course. U.S., UK blinded vets unite, remember World War I. Project Gemini has once again brought together veterans with vision loss from the United States and the United Kingdom. The occasion was an April 2nd through 8th exchange in Washington, D.C. in recognition of the centennial anniversary of World War I. Now in its 6th year and known as Project Gemini for the transatlantic cable that connects the two countries and continents, the week of activities in the nation's capital included educational forums, key federal agency site meetings with leaders of such agencies, and visits with U.S. vision rehabilitation experts, eye trauma specialists, researchers, and DoD specialty leadership. The goal of this April exchange was much like the ones we have already experienced in England, said BVA Government Relations Committee Chairman Major Tom Zampieri, retired, an annual coordinator of the exchanges. We hope to learn from one another and share best practices in the area of blind rehabilitation, war eye injury management, and current vision research advances so that our participants can be prepared to share them with officials in their home countries." End quote. Tom also emphasized the importance of the program in fostering mutual respect and understanding between the two allied nations as participants establish new friendships, share knowledge of blind and visually impaired rehabilitation services, and exchange insights and personal experiences regarding their own adjustment to blindness. This year, he says, it happened as blinded veterans recognized the historical significance of World War I and the subsequent beginnings of blind rehabilitation programs. U.S. blinded veteran participants were BVA National President and Vietnam War veteran Dale Stamper of Hayden, Idaho, Gulf War-era veteran Monica Gilmore of Rocky Mount, North Carolina, Gulf War I and II veteran Brian Corcoran of South Lebanon, Ohio, and Tom himself, a Vietnam-era veteran from Pearland, Texas. Participating from the United Kingdom were blind veterans UK President Colin Williamson and Royal Navy veterans Stephen Birkin and Sue Ailes. Alan Walker, an Army veteran who served in the Falkland Islands War in 1982, also made the trip along with Blind Veterans UK Director of Research, Dr. Renata Gomes. The program included a visit to the renowned Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Bethesda and the National Medical Museum. They met with senior leaders and program directors at the Department of Veterans Affairs on April 6th, the official 100th anniversary of the war. The veterans also visited the British Embassy, Arlington National Cemetery, and various other national memorials. They attended 2 sessions on the topic of World War I vision injuries and blast concussions at the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences on April 7th. Travel expenses for the British participants were made possible by an American Embassy London exchange grant related to the centennial commemoration of World War I. Team River Runner supplied local van transportation throughout the week. The American Academy of Ophthalmology has also supported Project Gemini through a grant to BVA's Operation Peer Support Program, which provides a pool from which Project Gemini participants are selected. Retired Army Ranger and police officer Joe Ammerling traveled to Washington from Georgia at his own expense to serve as a volunteer sighted guide for the group. Ammerling provided a similar service last year during Project Gemini's stay in Chicago. He enlisted the involvement of the Montgomery County, Maryland Police during the week. BVA and Blind Veterans UK together established Project Gemini in May 2011. Each year, 4 U.S. blinded veterans are hosted at the Blind Veterans UK facility in Brighton, England, with 4 of their counterparts in the UK. Project Gemini seeks to raise public awareness of the issues facing war veterans with vision loss and help them individually to discover opportunities for their lives after blindness. The vital relationship BVA has developed with Blind Veterans UK has blossomed to the point that our activities and opportunities continue to broaden and multiply, said Tom. Our week in D.C. was one more such opportunity to share knowledge and experience about blind rehabilitation services, vision trauma care, blast concussions, and research as we strengthen our relationship with veterans from the United Kingdom." End quote. Blind Veterans UK is a national charity, now 102 years of age, working on behalf of visually impaired ex-servicemen. Tracing its founding back to 1915 during World War I, the organization now offers free and comprehensive support to all UK blinded veterans. For additional information, visit blindveterans.org.uk. Additional highlights and stories surrounding the Project Gemini Week in the nation's capital will be presented in the May-June issue of the Bulletin. New media site launched. The Blinded Veterans Association has launched blog.bvamedia.net as part of a national initiative to increase awareness among veterans and the general public about the organization itself and to empower and instill hope in blinded veterans during their personal quests to meet the challenges of vision loss. The content of the blog emphasizes the services and benefits available to veterans through federal and local entities, communicated through personal success stories about BVA members and their families, information about current and pending legislation, and calendar items of upcoming BVA events. A highlight of the new site is a previously untapped opportunity to produce podcasts, share BVA's existing public relations efforts more effectively with its members, and utilize other digital communication methods in disseminating such news. Throughout BVA's 72-year history, the ability to communicate with the blinded veteran community was at first limited to written communication and audio through phonographic records and audio cassettes sometime later. The Internet has dramatically increased the number of accessible and inexpensive methods for individuals to interact and share information. Having already embraced social media such as Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn, BVA formed an internal public relations committee in August 2016 in an effort to expand communication efforts through podcasts and streaming Internet radio channels. The launch of blog.bvamedia.net is among the first in a series of actions that have become part of the initiative. To reach the new site, go directly to blog.bvamedia.net or link to it via bva.org. BVA saddened by Roy Young passing. A photo accompanies this brief tribute to Roy Young. He is shown accepting 2 different plaques from the national president at the time, Dr. Norman Jones, Jr. While the picture of Roy is a straight-on shot,
Norman is turned to the side with head tilted slightly downward.
both are attired in suits and ties, with Norman also wearing a BVA service cap. The caption eulogizes Roy as follows. Once he had located his own needed support from BVA, Roy Young embodied the BVA motto, Blinded Veterans Helping Blinded Veterans, as he served his fellow veterans both locally and nationally. Roy, left, is pictured here in 2008 at the 63rd National Convention in Phoenix as he simultaneously receives both Moss and Diener Awards from then National President Dr. Norman Jones, Jr. The article begins as follows. BVA members across the country were saddened to learn of the passing of their friend and fellow blinded veteran Roy Young on February 19th following an extended illness. Roy was a former BVA National Treasurer, Director of District 6, and Greater Houston Regional Group President. A Vietnam-era veteran with vision loss due to both diabetes and the advanced stages of glaucoma, Roy became a member of the National Board of Directors in 2008 at the 63rd National Convention in Phoenix, Arizona, having been appointed first as an interim district director and then being elected by the blinded veterans of District 6. At the same convention, he was awarded both the Melvin J. Moss Award for Professional Achievement and the Irving Diener Award, the only blinded veteran in BVA history to receive both awards at the same time. Roy served on the board for 5 years until stepping down for health reasons in 2013. In 2012, under the direction of Roy and his wife, Annette, the Greater Houston Regional Group organized many of the activities associated with the 67th National Convention in the city of Galveston, Texas. Roy also helped generate much of the enthusiasm among the BVA membership to hold the convention in Galveston. Prior to his service nationally and as president of his regional group, Roy fulfilled a number of other regional group and volunteer responsibilities. As a new member of the group, he told his fellow blinded veterans that he had made a promise both to himself and to God that he would forever make himself available to serve his fellow blinded veterans no matter the cost. Roy was known for his almost unlimited energy, dedication, and creativity in organizing local activities in the Houston area that brought a positive image and extensive media coverage for BVA. He made a special effort to reach out to recently blinded veterans from Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom, Afghanistan. Tail gunners and pilots again sought for Viper. A photo of last year's Viper ride accompanies the brief blurb about the upcoming event. The image, a somewhat shadowy one, reveals 5 individuals, 3 women and 2 men, standing together behind a sign that says, Welcome to the Viper Ride. Also part of the sign is the website URL, www.theviperride.org, and a logo that features a motorcycle, 2 riders, and again the words, The Viper Ride. A roofed pavilion is seen in the background. The caption states, The Viper Ride, now in its 2nd year, offers a day of motorcycling, socializing, food, and entertainment to blinded veterans from Wisconsin and across the country. Last year, more than a dozen attendees of the nearby BVA 71st National Convention participated in the event, including tail gunners Kenny Adams and Claudia Belk, pictured with white canes. News about the upcoming Viper Ride is presented as follows. BVA of Wisconsin Regional Group President John Carter is launching plans for a 2nd annual motorcycle Ride to Remember for up to 75 blinded and low-vision veterans. The ride will occur in Milwaukee August 20th. Organized and carried out by the nonprofit Visually Impaired Patriots Experiencing the Road, Incorporated, or Viper, established in late 2015, the journey will originate at a starting and ending point to be determined and announced later. Last year's ride coincided with the BVA's 71st National Convention in downtown Milwaukee. Veterans from 15 states participated. Viper was created with hopes of providing an annual opportunity for veterans to experience that same freedom and excitement of the road. The ride will again be provided to the tail gunners, the term used for a Viper passenger on a motorcycle, trike, or sidecar rig operated by a fully qualified, licensed, and insured driver called a Viper pilot. Some 100 to 150 volunteers, referred to as the ground crew, will be available to provide other services, assistance, and support during the day. The entourage will travel on some of the premier biking roads in southeastern Wisconsin. John reiterated that the tail gunners themselves must be military veterans who are blind, visually impaired, or who receive low vision services at a VA facility. BVA membership is not a requirement. For more information and application materials, visit www.theviperride.org, call 414-525-9005, or email info@theviperride.org. Although it is a pre-registration event, there is no cost to the veteran for the ride, lunch, or entertainment.